Hi, and welcome to the Sunshine Reader Book Club. I am Miss Lisa with the Osceola Library System, and today we're going to talk about the book Voyage of the Dogs by Greg van Eekhout. Now, I really enjoyed this book, and I couldn't put it down. But I do have to tell you that it was a real tearjerker. If you like dogs, or space adventures, or if you like stories with a lot of action, then you will really enjoy reading this book. Voyage of the Dogs is about a team of 4 dogs that they call Barkanauts. Now, these Barkanauts are specially trained to help astronauts on their space missions. In this book, the Barkanauts are on their spaceship, headed outside of the solar system to set up a new planet, and something goes terribly wrong. I'm not going to say any more because I don't want to ruin the story. So instead, I'm going to send it over to Miss Crystal, who is interviewing the author of Voyage of the Dogs, Greg van Eekhout.
Hi, this is Miss Crystal with the Osceola Library System, and we're here with our Sunshine Readers Book Club, and we're talking about Voyage of the Dogs with the author, Greg, I'm going to get this right, van Eekhout. Is that close? Yes.
Greg van Eekhout.
Yeah, Van Eekhout. I just get tongue-tied. Van Eekhout.
You can just call me Greg.
Just call you Greg. That's what I was going to do. So I'm glad you're not a teacher, because could you imagine the kids, it'd just be Mr. Greg all day.
I would have to get used to that.
Or Mr. V. It'd be cool.
Mr. V. Mr. V's kind of cool. Kind of like Mr. V.
All right. So I'm going to let Greg take us over and give us a little bit more background on this wonderful story, and so that you can get a little bit more in touch with this awesome author.
Well, thank you for inviting me here today. Talking to readers is probably my favorite thing about being a writer. So I just want to talk to you a little bit about what inspired me to write the book, and then a bit about my process of writing the book. So I'm going to click my share screen button, and hopefully that will allow me to share my screen with you. There we go. So you seeing that okay?
Wow, what a beautiful picture. I love it.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite covers. So
I
you
hear
can
a
probably maybe
Barkanaut
in the
somewhere.
background hear my dog, and we're going to talk about Dozer. Shush. So it came time to write a new book, and what I usually do is I sit down and I ask myself, what do I want to spend 6 months or more, sometimes a year or more, writing about? So I looked around my life and I decided what would make me happy to write about are my dogs. So the one you're hearing barking right now is the guy on the right. That's Dozer. He is a 10-year-old Jack Russell Yorkie mix. He's a rescue. And on the left is his sister. That's Amelia. She's about 6 years old, and she's a mix of a whole bunch of stuff. And they are 2 of my favorite creatures on the planet. This is my excuse to show pictures of my dogs more. This is Amelia on the beach. She is obviously very happy there. We live in San Diego, pretty close to the beach. And Dozer, please be quiet. And it smells there, and she likes to smell stinky stuff, so she's happy there. This is Dozer. Dozer is when I went to get my professional author photo, I brought Dozer along, and most of the pictures are actually of Dozer, not of me, which is fine by me. And anyway, he's a very handsome dog. So I based the dog Lopside, who is the hero of Voyage of the Dogs, on Dozer. You'll see that Lopside has 1 floppy ear. Dozer used to have a floppy ear when he was more of a puppy, but as he got older, the ear started standing up. So he doesn't look exactly like Lopside on the cover, but pretty close. So I decided I was going to write about dogs. And then I was wondering, okay, so what about dogs? Do I want to have them like during current times, a modern day contemporary story? Is it going to be a historical story where in the past? But I thought, no, what's the other thing that makes me happy that I want to write about for 6 months or more? And I love science fiction and I love spaceships. So I decided to put them on a spaceship. And also putting them on a spaceship was a really good excuse for me to build something out of Lego. Because then when they were like flying around the spaceship, I would know like, okay, here's where the engines are, here's where the agricultural dome is. But mostly it was just an excuse to be a grown-up who got to play with Lego. But sometimes I just like to whoosh this. This is the Leica. I like to whoosh this ship around. So dogs on a spaceship, that's the idea for Voyage of the Dogs. So then I started doing some research. I wanted to have some actual real life dogs who actually existed in the book that the dogs would look up to. So this is Balto. Balto was a dog in the 1920s who was part of a dog sled team in Alaska. There was this town that was frozen in, and they had a sickness, diphtheria, and they needed to get medicine, but there was no way to get to it. There was no way to get the medicine to the town because the seaways were closed and they couldn't land there because everything was frozen. So they had these dogs sled for hundreds of miles to save the lives of thousands of people in this town. Balto was one of them. This is a statue to Balto in Central Park, New York. I don't know why Balto is in Central Park, New York, the statue, but this is a statue I saw of Balto in Central Park, New York. Very powerful looking, handsome dog. And then there are dogs that actually have been to space. If you read the book, this is the sad part. This is Laika. Laika is the first dog shot into space by the Soviet Union Space Agency. And unfortunately, Laika didn't make it back alive, which is very sad. But I wanted to talk about that because one of the things in science fiction I like to do is not just talk about what life is like in the future. I like to talk about real issues that are present in our current times. And one of the questions I ask in Voyage of the Dogs is it fair? Is it right? Is it ethical to use dogs for jobs that are dangerous? Because dogs don't necessarily have a choice in this decision whether they want to do something or not. So I don't necessarily always provide the answers in my books, but I provide questions because I want the readers to think about these things and ask their own questions. Here are two other dogs that went into space. Happier with them, Belka and Strelka, because they made it back fine and they lived really great lives. So after I have sort of the questions I want to ask myself in the book, and I know where the book takes place, and I know what kind of book it is, whether it's science fiction or fantasy or realistic, then the job of a writer is really just to sit down and write. There is no way to get around actually doing the work. You have to think of things and dream about things you want to write about, but there's like the hard, sweaty work of writing. And so it takes hundreds and hundreds of days of writing to come up with even a pretty short book like Voyage of the Dogs. It's a lot of work. Fortunately, I like the work. It's fun for me, but it is kind of hard work. So I did that a whole bunch. And then you send it to your editor. You're not done yet because your editor is going to make corrections and mark up your manuscript, and they're going to ask questions. Should the character do this? Is it realistic that this happens? Or I didn't understand this part, or this part seemed rushed, it went by too fast, or this part seems slow, it kind of dragged. And so you sort of have to rip apart your story and put it all back together. And that's the editing or the rewriting or the revising process. And it's just as important as writing the story for the first time. And it's actually harder than writing the story for the first time. So that's going to take maybe a month, 2 months, 3 months. It depends on how much work has to be done, and it depends on what your deadline is like. So you do that. Eventually, your editor says, fantastic, you're done. Wonderful job. We can now go and make this story that you wrote, which is just a file on a computer, into an actual book. So that involves lots of people that have jobs that I don't even know how they do them. So they have to print the book. This is a big, huge industrial printing press. I'm sure it's very, very loud in there, and it probably smells like ink and maybe paper. But there are people that specialize in doing the job of printing books. There are other people who have to take the books and they put them in trucks and they store them in warehouses. And then from warehouses, they end up in libraries, and they end up in bookstores, or they end up being sold, online and sent to you in the mail. So the way I like to think about it is I write a story, and then lots and lots, dozens of other people are responsible for making my story into the book that you can hold in your hands. So finally, eventually, your book comes to you. They send you a box of books, and that's a really fun moment because until you get the book in your hand, it's not really real. And now wow, this is a book, it's a real thing. People are going to be able to buy it and read it. My tradition is I always take a picture of one of my dogs with my books. Sometimes they don't really care about my books, so I have to put a piece of chicken with the books so that they're curious. I think with this photo, there's probably a piece of chicken under there somewhere. So my books get slobbered on, and sometimes a little chewed up, but that just means my dog loved them. And so that is the story of how I came up with Voyage of the Dogs. So if you have any questions for me, or you want to talk about other things, I would be more than happy to talk about them with you.
Oh, that is so cool that your dogs have inspired you in that way, and that they kind of are so that you have allowed them to be so part of everything that you're creating with that. For it.
This particular book was about dogs, but I try to put a dog in every one of my books. Once I decided that I can put a dog in my book, I asked myself, well, why wouldn't I put a dog in my book? So every one of my books has a dog. This is another book, Cog, that I wrote, and this is Proto, who is a robot dog. And Proto's not as much of a character as Lopside, but he was fun to write.
So it would be kind of neat for the kids just to sort of look through and see which one of the in the books, what characters are kind of based on your ideas for these puppies and dogs and things like that. Is it through the adoption, through your just love of adopting a pet? Is that how you got the just, I don't want to say inspiration, but just sort of like that nudge as a writer to say, I'm going to write this book and put all of these ideas into formulation?
Well, with Voyage of the Dogs specifically, I had just finished writing 3 books for grown-ups, because I also write books for grown-ups. And they were pretty dark and grim, and it was about bad people doing mean things to good people, but the good people weren't always good. And it was just sort of a dark frame of mind I had to be in to write those books. And I'd also, I just, when I finished those books, my parents, unfortunately, who were very elderly, were sick and ill, and I had to take care of them until they eventually passed away. Don't worry, they lived good, long, full lives. But I was in a sad frame of mind. And so I wanted to just, with my next book, I just wanted to be in a happy frame of mind all the time.
Yes.
So, what helped me through all the sad parts was my friends and my wife and my dogs. It's impossible to get through a day with dogs without smiling and laughing several times. So I thought, this is the perfect time for me to write a book about dogs. And it turned out to be one of the better decisions I've made. I'm really happy I made that decision, because it actually really did cheer me up every day.
That's great. I love that, because I know my dog Biscuit, he just, through a rough day, you come in and he's just looking at you, you feed him, you take him out, and then he's just like, okay, now it's my time to love you up, Mom. And we just sit on the sofa, and that's all he wants to do, is just sit there and just say, you feel good today. You'll be fine.
Yeah.
So
Yes, dogs are magical that way.
And all different kinds of dogs too are magical in that way. I love how you went through some of those animal heroes that growing up, a lot of these kids hear through different either animated tales or through storytelling through that way. So it's wonderful to, especially with this, growing up, I knew that Sputnik went up, and I knew that there was a dog that went up with it, but not the sad tale that kind of went behind it with this dog. And he's adorable. And then seeing that the other 2 dogs were just fine, it's like, oh, what we do to go through science and to make these wonderful steps into the future, that sometimes there is a price to pay. And is that price worth, like you said, should we be putting animals in this position for that? So
yeah, I always feel bad when I hear a story about, say, a police dog that was wounded in the line of duty, because the police dog didn't say, I want to be a police dog. Dogs don't do that. That dog was picked and trained to do that. And it does make me wonder if we're always doing the right thing. Dogs can be amazingly helpful, and they're capable of doing such amazing things like search and rescue. But I think we have to remember that they're living creatures, and they have their own dignity, and maybe they have their own rights. And again, I don't always have the answers to these questions, but I just want people to ask them.
Sometimes just knowing that there are questions out there and not having the answers, like, is it the right thing to do? Should we be thinking? And it's just getting the kids thinking about these different processes and what we should be looking at. I mean, they may not say, yes, we should, or no, we shouldn't, but it's always good to have these questions and debate them to see where, who, what, when, and where is correct in their view of that. So
Absolutely.
That's really
Absolutely.
cool. Well, I want to thank you, Greg, for joining us today with our Sunshine State Readers Book Club and providing such, you know what, I hope the kids get excited about this and your upcoming book coming this summer, and sit down, grab a book and just read away.
Thank you so much for having me. This is always a thrill to get to talk to readers and librarians and teachers and stuff. So I really appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Hey, everybody. I'm Miss Susan from Buenaventura Lakes Library, and today I have Ms. Tammy Solano from Osceola Animal Services. She is the Outreach and Volunteer Coordinator, and we're lucky to have her come and visit with us for a few minutes today to talk a little bit about some responsibilities of being a pet owner and how you could maybe go about adopting a pet from the animal shelter. And go ahead, Ms. Tammy, talk away.
All right. Hello, everybody. Thank you for having us. I work at Osceola County Animal Services. So it's your local animal shelter for all of Osceola County. So one of the really big important things, and that you're reading in your book too, about keeping our pets safe, right? And so one thing we wanted to talk about today is how to be a responsible pet owner. Now that's a super great question. There's actually a lot of little things that we need to do. Besides just loving our pets, of course we love our pets and we have our pets in our home, we have to responsibility to take very good care of them. So what that means, on a regular basis, they should be getting plenty of exercise. So if it's a dog, we're walking our dog, we're letting them play outside for a little bit, they're running around, playing ball, all things dog, right? And then with our cat friends, we can have all sorts of toys or enrichment where we could have little balls at the end of our sticks and giving them exercise, or little climbing posts inside of our houses. All those great things will help keep them healthy and fit. They need exercise just like our bodies do too. They, of course, need fresh water all the time, right? That has to always be provided, as well as a healthy diet. So they need really good food. So a cat's eating cat food, a dog's eating dog food. And we just give them treats when we're training them and having fun with them along the way. So other important things that our parents do a lot to help us with is veterinary care. That's super important, that animals are seeing vets when they are not sick. So just like we have to go for checkups to the doctor to make sure we're healthy, our animals have to go to the veterinarians as well. So veterinary care is really important. They get vaccines, just like we do, which are the shots that help prevent them from getting sick. So it's about prevention, giving them healthy checkups, giving them vaccines to make sure that they're healthy and strong to fight off any viruses that come their way, that they have specific ones for dogs and cats that they get. So veterinary care is super important. And obviously if they get sick, that we contact a veterinarian right away so that we can make sure that they can get the medicine or the help that they need. So other little things that are really important too are those little tags that you see, the collars that they wear. That's really important too, because if they get lost and separated from us, and a lot of times this happens when we least expect it. We might have left the door open. There might be a hole in our fence. Things happen that sometimes our animals get away from us. So one thing that helps us at the animal shelter is when you're wearing a little collar and a tag. The tag's really important because it has the information, right? It tells us where you live possibly, or your phone number, so that we can call you. There's another really cool thing that you can insert into an animal, like right behind their neck. It's called a microchip. So they might have one that you can ask your parents if your pet has one, or they can get one at the veterinarian's office where they have all the information. It's your name, your address, and your phone number. So what you do is if your pet is lost, someone takes it to a veterinarian's office or to an animal shelter. We all have scanners. So we run a little wand across their back, and it actually tells us your name, address, and phone number. So if you happen to find a lost pet, that's another thing to do, is to always go to a veterinarian's office or the local animal shelter, and we'll scan it for you to see if we can find the pet owner that way. So there's really two ways to identify your pet that way. So we like to recommend to have both of them just in case. That's always a good thing. But we need at least one of them so that we can tell whose pet is whose if they get lost. So that's also a really important thing that we do for our pets. So really that's the most important part. Being a pet owner is all about taking good care of your pet, training your pet, making sure that they're healthy and strong, doing the best for your pet as well, and then making sure that we keep them on leashes when we're outside. If we have a dog, if we're keeping a good watch on our cat, they're staying near our property, that's all helpful to keep our pets safe.
Thank you. That was good information, Tammy. And if I wanted to go to the animal shelter and adopt a pet, what do I need to do?
That's another great question. So pet adoption is so important. There's so many pets that don't have homes. So we talked about animals becoming lost. Sometimes we get animals here that don't have tags and don't have microchips, and no one either comes for them or is able to find them. So then our job is to help them find another home that will be good for them. So, and sometimes people can't take care of their pets any longer, and so they bring them to us as well. So we have quite a bit of animals here that are looking for homes, or any local animal shelter or rescue organization has pets like that. So what you do for us right now, due to our COVID restrictions, we actually have appointments that you can make. So you go to our website, which is osceolacountypets.com. And you can see, first of all the pets that are available for adoption. So you can see all of their beautiful pictures and information. And then you make an appointment and you can come and meet them and see if they're a good fit for your family. So what you're looking for is, an animal that matches your family's lifestyle. So if you're a really active family, you're out and you want to take your dog hiking, you might want a really energetic dog. If you're a really busy family, you might be looking at a cat or an animal that has a little less energy requirements, right? So that they like to relax and watch TV with you. So you look for the right personality that fits your family and your lifestyle. And then basically, once you come and you meet the pet, and decide that it's a right fit for you. And then there's a little application that you fill out with your family. So you want your whole family to be in agreement when you're getting a new pet. And then basically with the adoption process, they are already spayed or neutered. That means they're not able to have babies anymore, which is really good for them. It's healthy for them. So that's really important. So that's already taken care of for you. So we don't have to pay for that in addition at a veterinary's office. So that's taken care of for you at adoption. It also has all of your basic vaccines already. So there's a lot of good reasons to adopt a pet, not only saving a life and giving a new home for a pet that's in need, but also it has all of its basic veterinary care that is met here at the shelter for you. So we try to set you up for success. We also have a virtual adoption process, very popular for the kittens that we're adopting right now. And that's all online as well on that website. And on that website, you can also find safety information. Really important too that we're safe with our pets when we adopt them, that we want to make sure that they're super comfortable with us and we're comfortable with them. So if you go to our website, osceolacountypets.com, and then / and safety, you'll receive information. There's little videos on there how to be safe with our pets out in the community when we're walking pets or seeing strange pets that we don't know, and also how to keep our pets safe in our home as well.
Awesome, Tammy. Thank you. That is such wonderful information. And I really do appreciate that you took some time out of your day to visit with us and, just give us some tips. And I think that's about it for today. So,
okay. Well, thank you so much for having me, and happy reading, everybody.
Hi, families. This is Miss Crystal with the Osceola Library System, and I have my pet Biscuit here today, and we're going to do some space training for Voyage of the Dogs with him. We're going to see if he can sit. You ready? Sit. Good boy. Ooh, good boy, Biscuit. And we're going to see if he will stand up. You want to see if he'll stand for me? Stand, Biscuit. Up. Good boy. Good boy. Up. Now let's see if we can get him to go around the cones. Come on, Biscuit. Let's go this way. Over here. This way. One more. Over this way. Oh. Come on, one more. See if you can do it. Over here. Come on. I know. Woo-hoo. All right. And one thing when you're training dogs, you should always try to have some kind of treat or reward for them so that they know. And he would really enjoy these if he was going out into real outer space. Now I have one more trick to see if you can help me with. All right, Biscuit, you want to see if you can find the treat that I have hiding? Come on, buddy. Let's look back here. Yeah. See these cups right here, guys? I have a treat hidden under one of the cups. Let's see if he can find one. Here, what's the cups? That one? Oh, is it that one? Oh, I think up. Is it there? Get it up. He found it. Isn't he a smart dog? I think he would be ready to go with Voyage of the Dogs in no time. Right, Biscuit? Come on, let's go say bye to the boys and girls. Yeah, he is such a good dog, and he loves doing fun things like that. So, Biscuit, one more time. Sit down for everybody. Good job, buddy. Oh, he wanted to get up. Yeah. So I hope you enjoy Voyage of the Dogs. And Biscuit is an adopted dog. We adopted him 13 years ago, and he's been a part of our family since. And he's one of our family members now. So if you think about getting a pet, make sure you try out adoption first. And I hope you enjoy Voyage of the Dogs. We'll see you next time, okay?
Thank you for joining us today. And if you want to read Voyage of the Dogs by Greg van Eekhout or any of the other past selections on the SSYRA list, you can borrow them from the library. You can also visit Cloud Library if you have an Osceola library card, and you can read them digitally as ebooks. Believe it or not, this is our last book on the Sunshine State Young Readers Award list, thus finishing up our 2020-2021 Sunshine Readers Book Club program. But don't you worry, you can't get rid of us that easily. You need to warm up your investigation skills to spy all the activities for our new Spot the Book program. It's coming up throughout the month of May. Spot the Book is a county-wide initiative in which we will be featuring James Ponte's book, City Spies. There are many exciting activities planned all month long. Learn how to register for our Beanstack Challenge, in which you will be able to earn tickets towards amazing prizes by answering trivia questions and completing our library scavenger hunt and attending our virtual Spot the Book programs. On May 4th at 6 p.m., join us live for the introduction to our Spot the Book program to find out more details. Now, you can also visit our online calendar of events at www.osceolalibrary.org. So be sure to check out a copy of James Ponte's City Spies and watch our Spot the Book programs during the month of May. They won't disappoint. And as always, we hope to see you at the library. Goodbye for now.